Jackie, thank you so much for joining us on here. How you doing today?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
Is that a real answer you give people? I'm blessed, highly favored.
Depends on the person.
By God's grace, I dropped my 7th album in 2022, and I decided to call it The End. It's a project I am very proud of. So I wanted to make this podcast to drive home, the heart behind everything that I wrote. This is the End.Notes podcast. Chapter 1, Pull Away.
I feel like there's a lot of people starting to assess social media and how it's used.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about you is the way that it seems like you're always like a little bit ahead of the curve, right? So you pulled away from Twitter before lots of these resources that we talked about or read through or thoughts that we had. So what was it for you? What was that intersecting of moments that made it clear for you?
I just kept not liking what was happening.
Right.
Like one of the things would be like I would be at the grocery store or something. My wife was like, "You at the grocery store?" But I'd be standing in line somewhere, and if it meant I had to wait for 30 seconds, I would pick up my phone immediately. And when I would notice that, I was like, "This feels bad."
Right.
It's almost like I've trained myself not to give myself any moment to ever think or reflect on anything.
Right.
The moment something's not happening, let me find some information to throw in.
Right.
And that just felt unhealthy. There would be times where I wasn't even looking for something in particular. It was just so automatic that my brain was just and that felt unhealthy to me.
Right.
I felt like this is not how to, love God with my mind. It's like if I want to memorize a passage and reflect, it's like, I remember when I used to memorize a passage of scripture. And I would think about that in a moment of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there is like a stress that can come in your soul when you never give yourself space to actually reflect on what's happening in your life. You're just kind of going from moment to moment.
Right.
And it's unhealthy. Even like when I would be like reading scripture, I would like have to be like, oh, stop. It's like, why do I have to put my phone across the room?
Right.
To listen to God for 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That felt unhealthy. And then the other thing, so that was just in terms of how I'm interacting with it. So, and then even when I would give myself limits, it felt almost impossible to stick to them. And then when I would take breaks, it would be hard for a week. And then I would think, I don't miss it at all.
Right.
I don't miss nothing about it. I feel like I can think. I feel like I can, I feel like there are good things. And all the stuff I feel like I'm missing out on if I don't know. It's like, nah. Instead of missing out because I'm not present there, it frees me up to be more present in the real world.
Yeah.
So it's not like real people aren't there, but it's like a version of the world that's all twisted and skewed towards one thing that's just not super healthy.
Yeah.
And then, so I kept progressively doing that, taking more and more breaks and longer, and they always felt good for my soul.
Right.
And then I felt it didn't take long to get sucked back in. And then the more I learned about that's how they built to work.
Right.
I'm not misusing it. They're built to work like a casino.
Yeah.
They're built to like give you that little quick thing. When I'm reminded like, oh yeah, they have different goals than we do.
Right.
Twitter's goal is not their business plan. It's not for me to get on there and share encouraging things, right? They just want you on it. Same, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. So I just thought I have to use these in wise ways.
Right.
And then that's in terms of receiving. In terms of giving, it just felt like a place where what I'm interested in saying on here doesn't seem like the platform is built for that. And I would rather spend that time communicating. Also, because like I'm sick, bro.
Right.
Like, I don't have a lot of time and energy to give. And sometimes I'll be like, is this for real how I want to use good hours of my day?
Yeah.
Like there are better things for me to do with it. And that felt most faithful for me.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
That's dope. Yeah, from a music standpoint, though. All right, so not so much All Mine, because I do think All Mine, and we can talk about it if you want to. This is your show.
Yeah.
But it, like, thematically, it fits in with the rest of it, right? Like, the song is very, pensive, thought-provoking, and
You talking about All Mine?
yeah. So it's the word. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, all right, it all falls within the same vein of very like thoughtful and chill.
Yeah.
Put Your Weapon Down was very like anthemy.
Yeah.
Like, up, simple. And why that feel for that song?
Yeah. Part of it has to do with just kind of how it got written. I was thinking of I had like a drum pattern and then the idea for the song. And I started writing it just in my head while I was driving home from somewhere.
Yeah.
And it started with everything is ammo, everybody strapped. They're like, don't give me your hand, bro. I don't need your dap. And that just kept, and it's actually one of my favorite beginnings of verse on the record.
Yeah.
And then as I started producing around those drums and stuff, I was like, this should feel aggressive because it's a song about how aggressive we are, how we just be mad all the time and just trying to fight.
Yeah.
One of the things like this hard is, and this is just something I always fight with as an artist, is like, I want to talk about thoughtful things, but I don't want that to mean all my songs are slow.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, how can I talk about stuff in different kinds of sounds and contexts? And it just felt like a fun one to sound really aggressive. Just like some gunshots off in the background and everything. I had to calm it down in some ways. But that's another one that like went through a lot of different versions too. And I even added a switch up on the second verse on the beat to it's one of the ones I'm really proud of. Musically and creatively too.
That's dope.
Yeah. And to me, like even that line, everything is ammo, everybody strapped. It's like, and social is part of how we've done this to ourselves. And again, I don't want to act like social media is the reason people do bad things.
Right.
But it appeals to the sin in our hearts in a particular way. It's better at pulling that stuff out than other things sometimes. But they're like, everything is ammo, everybody strapped. They're like, don't give me your hand, bro. I don't need you. And my homie was so nice only a couple of years ago, he started coming right for me. It's like something has shifted in how we have conversations about stuff, even stuff we disagree about. And now everything that happens, we receive as ammo to take out our opponent. It's like any piece of news, any song, anything anyone says, our first thought is, how can I use this to tell the people I disagree with that they wrong and I'm right? And it's just so unhealthy.
Right.
Everything's so over politicized in strange ways that I'm just like, I don't want us to be like this, especially believers. That's not what God has called us to. He's called us to be peacemakers. One of my favorite proverbs, a soft answer turns away wrath, is one of those that not only sounds true, but almost every single time when you respond to someone who's furious with gentleness and kindness, it brings the temperature down on a situation. And that's what I think that's what we want to be seeking to embody. And the other thing I'm talking about myself in verse 2 is like, I hate everything you say, but I can't look away. Wonder how much time my outrage took today. It's like, I keep looking at Twitter. I was just in this, I was like, why I keep looking on here when everything I hate what you say, and I can't stop looking at what you say. It's like a weird train wreck thing that it's like, why do we like to be outraged?
Right.
And that takes up time and energy that could be used on other stuff. So anyway.
That's good.
Chapter 2, Rules of Engagement. We're talking about seeking our own glory, our kind of obsession with being in front of people, and we're talking about conflict with others. And to me, social media is a big part of that. Me and John are always having these conversations about social. And one of the reasons we want to talk to you, like I said, is that you not only do you just have a platform, but also you use social a lot. And I think, how much of the following that you currently have do you think came from people interacting with you on social first? Because I know, like, for me, before social was what it was, I don't remember when we first met, but it was like Jackie the poet. And then it was like, oh, Jackie's a rapper now too. She just randomly started rapping and she's better than everybody.
Right.
Thanks, Jackie. But I think there's probably a lot of people now who ran into you first on social. Do you think that's true?
It's potentially. I think my teaching videos or teaching in particular spaces or conferences, I think both of that kind of does the thing. But then I've noticed this new thing where my followers spike when someone is slandering me. So
there we go.
That's been a thing.
I mean, I don't know. There's a nice little segue right into the social media conversation because I think we all probably use social a little bit differently. So before we even talk about, just John, how do you use social?
Yeah.
And I'll say how I use social and Jackie, and we can just.
All right. Yeah. Different socials I use differently. The only reason I still have a Facebook is because I have parents, right? So Facebook is exclusively for mom and dad just to see stuff that goes on.
But they still know everything you're doing now.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg personally knows.
Right. Twitter, and this changed for me. I forget when, but I came across the word Twitter in a book that I was reading.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is a real word. It's not a made up word.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And the definition was like some like fluttering of a bird, like just a passing statement. And I was like, oh, I've been trying to use this for too much. Yeah. So Twitter is going to be the place where I use for levity. So that's why it's basketball or telling people, I know you say I should get a cheesesteak, but I think it's fine. I think it's okay. So stuff like that. And every once in a while, I'll drop some inspiration and quotes and stuff there, but I tend to use it for levity.
Yeah. We're just going to talk about how I currently use stuff. Right. You know, I basically don't use anything for anything. I have Twitter, I have Facebook, I have Instagram. I have a TikTok. I don't, I think I just downloaded the app recently. By the way, this is one of those times I feel old is when I'm like, Jack, you remember too when you speaking at an event or something and they young and you say something about TikTok and you feel like, I feel like I don't have enough of the same TikTok experience that you do. So I feel like I'm about to say something old people say. So I just try not to say it.
I've TikToked.
Yeah, that's right. I know what you're doing on TikTok. Yeah. Now, Twitter, I don't post very much at all. I'll get on and look at stuff sometimes. Instagram, I will post stuff around album stuff, that kind of thing. But before I was putting more music out, I just hadn't been on there for a while. Facebook, same thing. Whatever went to my Instagram will go to my Facebook. So.
Yeah, Facebook is, I have two. I have the regular Facebook, that's everybody I went to high school with, all my cousins and aunts, and I just use that to lurk, just to see how big everybody's getting. And then my Twitter was a place for me to learn new ideas. Honestly, I liked following people, and I did use it as a news source, which I soon found out is probably not good or ideal. And it was a good place for me to articulate certain things. Instagram is just the whole gamut of what I enjoy. So that could be words, teaching, music, design, my children, food. Like, I don't know, that feels like not safe, that's not the word, but the place where I can really explore myself out loud the most.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you say that because I used to use Twitter like that too. I think same thing, like, I liked ideas. So it would be an easy place to like follow a bunch of people disagree. And I was like, oh, I can like see,
can explore.
Yeah, like the discussions people are actually having to get a good feel for what people actually, but obviously it changed or something. And also for news too, but just like you, I hit a point where I was like, this is not a good place for me to enter into news conversations at all. No. So I really was like, I'm going to get a newspaper subscription.
Right.
So I can.
That's what I did.
Have an extended, informed opinion on things that are happening.
Right.
Who like done research and a journalist. So even if I disagree with you, it's based on hearing an entire thought out argument that I'm interacting with, not like the random headline things.
Yeah.
People like that.
Yeah. Twitter was it was right? I can't even say is. Yeah. It was a great place to get introduced to new ideas.
Yeah.
And for a brief time, it was a good place not just to get introduced, but to interact with them. And then it quickly became, oh, you don't come here for meaningful interaction.
Yeah.
Get the introduction, and then take that somewhere else, right? Expose people to a thought, but we're not going to exchange ideas here. That's not what this place is for.
Yeah. Jackie, so you quit Twitter recently, right?
I did. Good riddance.
Why? Why did you do that? What?
I had been thinking about leaving for a while, probably a year, because it just was increasingly becoming what felt like a very toxic place, where people are just so outraged all the time. And they're perturbed by the smallest things. And there's this air of just being completely irrational and unreasonable. And I just can't handle that. So that's that. What it was also doing to my own heart, like it was making me mad all the time. Or I would get on Twitter and I would feel the same. So I'm an introvert, right? And so when I go into spaces with a bunch of strangers, I can identify this particular kind of anxiety that I have that's like a guardedness and this fear. And I noticed every time I would open up Twitter, that same anxiety was coming up. And it was like, why am I like feeling like I got like Twitter PTSD or whatever? And I think that started to develop when I was being exposed to all of the attacks and slander coming my way. So that was that. And then Ray Ortlund wrote this article, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago about why he got off Twitter. And that felt like bravery to me for a communicator and an author and a preacher to say, you know what, there's this one portion of the world that I just don't belong and I don't have time for it. And so, I just had to go. And I realized not only because I cannot handle the environment, but I also realized that the environment cannot handle me. And what I mean is what I know about myself is there are some people that can be on Twitter and just be on Twitter. Like John, he could have all the levity in the world. If I'm on Twitter, I'm going to say something and I can't not, right? And so I need to guard myself and y'all from my honesty. So let me go.
Now that's good though, because I think we sleep on how knowing ourselves should shape how we interact with stuff. Like everybody's not going to interact on social in the same way. Some people be able to move in different ways on different stuff. But I love that maturity of saying, part of me is I know myself and I can't be faithful if I'm in this environment. Here's how it affects me personally. Yeah, that's good.
And it's just not the space for even, I'm not even going to be sinning against people. It's just not, like me and John, for example, we have really thoughtful, honest conversations, right? But I'm realizing that I want to have those conversations publicly, but people don't have the thoughtfulness or the nuance or the maturity to be able to handle it. And so it's like, oh, like y'all actually just aren't good for this.
And one of the things that helped me too is like, sometimes I would get on myself like, man, stop using it like this. And it was like, oh, this is not me using it incorrectly. This is what it's built for. There's a reason that outrage goes hard. I mean, they're built for the most outrageous things, because they just want them. They just want people spreading stuff. This is so sometimes I would say to my wife, like, man, I gotta change the people I follow, because when I get on here, it's just a dumpster fire of death and destruction. And I'm like, man, it's just like, if you're feeling happy about your day, here's 97 reasons you shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Or even, so with me, even it wouldn't be like I feel like I have to say something, but I would be so mad at people being so wrong and uninformed that it would just be like, why am I doing this to myself? I only get mad when I get on here. I guess for you, like what did it, was there any like particular incident that made you finally make that final decision beyond
so I had already it was funny, like on a Saturday, I wrote a thread about wanting to leave Twitter. And I said that I think a great departure is coming because I think it is hard to stay faithful in this space.
Yeah.
And so that Sunday, I saw, wow, it's okay. I sent out a text. Saying, don't come in here.
Have y'all seen that video of that dude on the news and his daughter came in? I watch that like every 4 months. Just the way she came in all carefree. And then his wife on the ground.
On Amazon, I literally just bought a do not disturb sign for that reason alone. But anywho, so when the shooting at Tops grocery store happened, and there was all this talk around the replacement theory, I thought about this interview that I watched with Farrakhan on the Donahue show in like the 90s, where she stood up in the audience and she was like, when I hear you speak, all I hear is violence. But it was funny because he didn't say anything violent. Yeah. Even if you've listened to Farrakhan is a hot mess. And he can be very antagonistic and vitriolic, but he was actually incredibly gentle and patient the entire conversation. And so what he said he was like, I don't think you hear violence. I think you're afraid. And what you're afraid of is that our people will do to your people what your people have done to us, which is coming out of a deep guilt that you're projecting onto Black people when that's not even our nature. And I thought that aligned with the replacement theory so deeply, which is, I feel like there's some people in the world who are out here like, I don't want people of color or minorities to rise up because we're afraid that they will, if they come into power, they'll do to us what we did to them. I say all that to say, I posted that clip because I thought it was interesting. That thing got a hold of somebody's, I don't know, Twitter feed, and they just was like, Jackie promotes a black supremacist, and this is the girl y'all got preaching to y'all students and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know what? Yeah. I'm done. Like y'all ain't got to hear from me no more, because that was my fault. I should have said, Jackie, they not going to be able to receive a Farrakhan clip in the way that you intended. Yeah. So you should have just sent that to your friends and called it a day. So that was my fault, but I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard somebody talk about Twitter as it is contextless conversation.
Yeah.
That you try to have a conversation and everybody that reads what you said fills in their own context to where that fits in. And they don't respond to the intent that you laid out. They respond to their context mixed with your content. And it just creates these, not just dumpster fires, but dumpster grease fires where you just can't put them out with anything.
And it appeals to something in our sinful hearts because we like to pile on. So that's the other thing, is one person willfully misunderstands, for instance, what Jackie says.
Yeah.
Then other people, whatever joy we get from being like, yeah, they are the worst, right?
Team building exercise. That is the greatest.
That's right. And everybody's like, come on, y'all, let's get them. That is like at the heart of how Twitter works. That is just, and I think it's really like killing our ability to have any conversations.
Right.
Because what you're saying is hard for me too. Like, I stopped even saying encouraging things because it was like, this is not what this place is for. Now, some people are able to do it well, but I'm just like, nuance, anything that requires actual thought beyond the quick nugget just can't survive here.
Yeah.
And it just be not interested. So like, even like stuff would happen, somebody would get shot again. And every time I would think about posting something on Twitter or anywhere, I'm just like, this means too much to me to get in a fight with a random kid whose name is Green Plants 4759, who might not even be an actual person. So it's like, I'm not gonna go back and forth with you, because I'm like, I would rather spend time helping to shape how the people I'm shepherding are thinking.
Right.
I would rather spend time interacting with you about it, where I know this is a good use of my energy and emotions and my thoughts, rather than trying to. Now, somebody may say, well, Trip, you should have worked harder to find a way to do it well so you can encourage people. It just always felt like I don't like what's happening there, and I don't really see a lot of benefit of me continuing to give time and energy to it.
I mean, I think it's how you're equipped to encourage, because you have some people, their encouragement is not polarizing ever, right? Which I would argue is probably because they stay on the surface. I'm not built that way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like the way I'm encouraged might have some level of depth or criticism or expose some level of idolatry or whatever the case may be. And again, I think in that space, in that world, is just not like, it's like, I just should have just stayed to like posting quotes from dead people, because you can attack them and not me then.
Yeah. Or I guess what you said is a good point. Like the way we're equipped to encourage people, because I think the other thing is, if you're a person that fits really tightly within a box perfectly, then everyone who follows you is going to rock with everything you say,
right?
Because that's what people want to do on social. They just we want to high five each other about stuff we agree about,
right?
But anytime we got to get in some weed, it's just not feel for it. What do you like from your experience with that? Like, is there any principles from how you work through that you think can help other people figure out how they should interact with social?
Yeah, can I ask one thing really quick?
Yeah.
All right. So before that, I would love to know, since you made the decision to leave, has there been any regret, like, I wish that I wouldn't have, or has there been like confirmation, like, I'm so glad that I left, and this is why?
And can you, as you answer that, can you also just, what were the things in your mind that made you be like, I can't, because especially someone with a platform, there's more to think through. So
that's what I was gonna say. The thing that kept me on it as long as it was the fact that I sell books.
Yeah.
Right. And so a part of what I do is words. And so it was like, it was this fear of, man, like when my next book come out, this is one platform I can't utilize. But I really had to believe that the Lord provides. It's him. And I actually posted like this caption on my Instagram, and it came out of this. It was, God doesn't need other people to bless me. All he needs is himself. Yeah, and so I just had to like rest in the fact, like my hustle, my ambition, social media, I don't need none of that for the Lord to do what he has to do. So that was the other regret. I think the immediate confirmation that it was right is that I have more peace. I just have more peace, and I'm able to, I don't know, I feel like I've been thinking more without influence, if that makes sense. Like it's just, my brain is because usually it'd be like Twitter. And so I always had other people's words all in my head, but I don't now. The only lamentable thing is that there were a lot of people on there that I really like to see what they had to say, and I miss it. And so I just been buying their books. It's like, you know what? Let me just read y'all books. You know? So Hannah Anderson is one of those. Like, I just loved her Twitter feed. And so I just bought her book, All That's Good, because it's like I need to see her work somewhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did either of y'all ever feel like you were, did you ever feel like when you were thinking through an issue, you heard all the people on Twitter in your head as you were trying to think it through? Like now, if you think or you do that, you know what they're going to say in a way that's like humans have never had to deal with, and it's probably an unhealthy way to ever process anything.
Yeah,
that's true.
So I got to a point, I haven't quite quit yet. I've embraced it as broadcast media. Yeah. So what I said is, all right, I want to curate stuff online. Yeah. And I'm going to use Twitter just to broadcast. Hey, if you want to find my complete thoughts, come in.
I was thinking about how with the Farrakhan tweet, for example, that is, I can completely understand why that was offensive. I totally get it. Because I think from the outside looking in, it's like, well, why are you platforming Farrakhan, right? But I think that if the people that know me and the people that know how my mind ticks, they know that I'm actually always reading from, listening to, and gleaning from all kinds of people. right? But you have to know me to know that.
Right.
But on Instagram, I'm not saying I would have posted on Instagram, but I do think that Instagram is particular or different from Twitter, because Instagram kind of forces you to have some context about a person. Right. So if somebody posts a thing, it's next to pictures of the kids, next to pictures of them at the park, next to, first of all, it's a face. A face already does something to our hearts and the way we understand people, right? But I think you have to do more work to make somebody's position mean something that it doesn't like on Instagram. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Right.
But
it makes perfect sense. Yeah. The easier it is to limit somebody to this one little thing the easier it is to limit them to this 140 characters, the easier it is to dehumanize them, think of any nuance or context, try to understand things from their perspective. And that's good. I hadn't really thought about it like that. The effects of that go beyond Twitter. It's like, you ever talk to someone who like completely misunderstands a situation because they just been listening to people on Twitter. Right. And it's like, fam, that's not what people think. That's actually not how people respond to that. That's actually a Twitter thing. And such a small amount of people are having that conversation right there. Like, oh, how did you talk to the people the people in my church don't even know what you're talking about. Right. They actually they don't know nothing about that uproar that you're going. They live in a completely different life. Right. And I'm happy for them that they don't even know what you're talking about. And the more I realized that, the more I was like, if it's even going to impact the way that so it's not only going to take away some of my time from the people I'm actually doing life with, it's actually going to impact some of the ways I interact with them and make me to misunderstand things in a way that's not actually relevant to where they're at, that I really have to think about how I engage with this.
That's interesting.
Like some newspapers are telling their journalists to stay off Twitter now. Like they're encouraging them not only to not say wild stuff, but like, don't get so much of how you interact with issues from there, because it's not an accurate snapshot of where people are really at. What were you going to say, Jay?
I also feel like John would know exactly where this is, but I feel like somewhere in Ecclesiastes, he said something about knowing too much, how it make you sad.
Oh, yeah.
And I started to feel like I should not know about every single thing that's happening, right? Like just over here in this part of the world and over here in this church and over here in this denomination, where it's like, it's overwhelming me to have access to all of this information. And so in some sense, though I feel like I'm missing out on something, there is something healthy about being limited when it comes to knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think humans were made for that.
That's right.
It's like so it's like this, right? Death can be around any corner. And it's helpful for us to know that, right? Twitter makes you feel like death is around every corner, right? And so it's like, I need to take care in the way that I live my life, because this could be my last. Twitter will have you feeling like, as soon as I step out of the front door, I'm going to be accosted by all of these tragedies, right? It brings every tragedy of the world right to your front doorstep. And you're saying, I'm actually shielded and guarded from some of these because I don't have proximity to them in the real world. So it's,
So Jackie, based on what you've experienced, the ways you've tried to make mature decisions about how to use social, what would you, are there any principles from that other people can kind of glean from and how they interact with it in a healthy way? Because I think just assume whatever I feel is just what I'll do. And so give me some tools for how to make decisions about how I use it.
I think one is actually praying for God's wisdom, which can be scary if you are fearful that God will take it away from you. But I think that the main belief has to be, if he does this, because it's good, right? And so I think praying, God, how do you want me to utilize this specific social media platform? I've been praying that myself the last week for Instagram. Like, God, if you want me in this space, one, let me know you do. And how do you want me to exist on it? Like, I need to have some sense of like direction when it comes to that. And so I think praying is good. I think too, not being like reading and having discussions and all of that needs to take up more of your time, because you can kind of tell when a person just tweets all the time, but they're not reading or watching documentaries, like doing something of substance and depth outside of that space. And then I don't know, I think I often had to remind myself that God cares a whole lot about my words. Like, this isn't a small thing to the Lord. Like, he cares. And so I've made a lot of mistakes, because with a lot of words comes a whole bunch of sin. But I think it guarded me more often than not than saying more than what I should have said.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Wisdom. Yeah.
Hey, but I would recommend, I don't know how to pronounce his name, the gamification of discourse.
Yes. CT1.
By,
yep.
I think that thing is a game changer.
Right.
Yeah, and I've been reading All Good Things, or All the Good Things, or something by Hannah Anderson, which is about developing the practice of discernment. And I think in the social media world, we tend to frame discernment like being able to spot bad stuff, when discernment is being able to have a taste and a palate for what's good. And I really feel like if we all kind of did that, social media could potentially be a better place.
That's right. Yeah, but
I don't think it will.
Nah, thank you so much, for real. Yeah. We appreciate you. It's super helpful for the convo.
Chapter 3, Under the Bright Lights.
On All Mine, that's one of my favorite ones on the record too. Ava's favorite song. Oh, yeah, by far. Oh, that's dope. Yep. Well, it must be the best one. I trust Ava's judgment. Now, like that one. Michelle sent the beat. He's a dude I work with on a bunch of stuff. I loved it. I wrote the hook. It was one of my favorite hooks because I'd written a song called Look at Me. There was some stuff in there I took some bars from. I actually liked the production. It's cool. All Mine, I wanted to do it from the perspective of the person who finds themselves chasing glory on social. So it was like, the hook says, all I want's your gaze, some space on your front page. The whole world is my stage. I'm allergic to the small time. I've been out here living like all my days are paved with plaques, my name engraved. Acclaim is chains, I slave. Allergic to the small time. I've been out here living like it's all mine. This thing in our soul that so badly wants the eyes on us. We just want people, we cannot stop trying to get eyes on us. And it's like we've turned ourselves into our own PR machines. Right. Where it's like every interaction is about how to get more likes or retweets, or just to get the people you think are cool to think you're cool, and how to post some content that people really like, and everybody want to be an influencer. Right. And again, I'm not trying to demonize social itself, but it does. We do have to guard ourselves, because it appeals to those parts of who we are. And when I think about, just how clear scripture is, great is the Lord and greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. Right. Colossians 1, through him all things were made, and all things were made for. It's everything is about God. Right. Everything is about Jesus. Everything is to the glory of God and Jesus. Right. And in this particular area of our life, we don't really think through, is that really why I'm using this and how I'm using it? It's we've taught ourselves it's cool in this little area of my life to be 100% completely about my glory and my shine at all turns. And I think it's unhealthy, and we just really got to ask ourselves. Yeah. What do you think it is about that makes that pursuit feel innocent? Yeah. Right. And that makes the pursuit of the right and God being about his glory feel threatening, or something that we don't want?
Because it's built for our own. It's built that way. It's built, and they know how that's the thing. It's I think we sleep on
they know what they're doing.
Right.
Like, they built it to keep you on there. I mean, there's a reason you're like, oh, I'm about to, and then you see another joint. There's a reason that the reels you can just flip to the next one. There's, it's built to keep you on it. And the likes and the retweets, they know that gives us a little dopamine hit.
Right.
And it keeps us coming back, and it reshapes how our brains work.
Yeah.
That gamification thing, like I heard, what's her boy name?
CT Win.
Yeah, I heard him talking to Ezra Klein on Ezra Klein's podcast.
Yeah.
Shared it with you, and then you went and
read the paper.
Yeah. And it just made it so clear to me that part of the reason we love it is, part of the reason people love video games is there's not really gray areas. It's super clear what you're supposed to do, how to get there. Like, there's a clear good versus evil. There's a clear, I do this, I get that, a clear path towards everything. And that feels like a really safe, comfortable place to be. The values are decided on for you.
Right.
Whatever helps you, I don't know if it's a shooting game, kill this person, bang, you good.
Right.
And there's none of and social is the same way. It narrows everything. And it makes it really clear, kind of decides on those values for you, no matter how hard you try to fight against it.
Right.
And so that to me makes me think, yeah, we just really got to be cautious. Is there anything you want to add? Around some of that gamification?
Nah,
stuff?
that concept in that paper just it changed it when he just brought up, like, no, our lives are about values, and values are complex.
Yeah.
They're nuanced.
Yes.
And what games do is they change how your mind works, and they say you can escape from the complicated system of valuing more than one thing. Yeah. You can escape from the complexity of valuing women's health and the lives of the unborn, and just say, hey, you can just pick one and make it the ultimate. And so games simplify us.
Yes.
And then when they do that, the big thing from there was that no. We don't just change how we interact with the game, but the game itself changes us and how we see the rest of the world. Yes. And it's I'm a nice person. I actually become a different person when I'm playing Monopoly.
Yes, I've witnessed this with my own eyes.
Right. But it's like there is a way where you can play that game so much that it starts to affect the way that you live your life.
Yeah, that's it.
And socials is like, oh, no. You're not just a different person when you're on there, but it actually changes how you interact with people in real life.
That's one of the things I like about what Cal Newport has said about socials is that we should think of them as tools.
Right.
And like we do with any other tool, we ask ourselves, what am I after?
Right.
And how can I use this tool in a way to accomplish that? And that's the beginning and end of my usage of the tool. So if my goal, I'm just make some up, is to make sure people know about my music. And that's what I want to use it for, and that's a tool I'll use it for.
Right.
But not just to blindly use it without any regard. Yeah. And so if it's like, oh, my life is supposed to be about loving God and loving neighbor. Yeah. How does this tool help me to do that? Let me think about the ways it does that, and let me just use it that way. Right. Instead of a blind, I just show up, Mark Zuckerberg, do with me as you wish.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
The End.Notes podcast is presented by Our Daily Bread's Voices Collection, and that Voices Collection is meant to share Black Christian stories of faith through resources and conversations, all Bible-centered, to help try to make God's word understandable for everybody and accessible to everybody. So if you want to know more about Our Daily Bread's Voices Collection, you can go to experiencevoices.org.